when I was working for a high street bank, I'd literally have to run through reams and reams and reams of paper, looking at lots of different credit card numbers to try and determine whether or not somebody's credit card, which was marked as lost or stolen, it was actually their transaction, or was it actually a fraudster trying to make that transaction on their behalf? And if I kind of look back to, like, I guess today, and I'm kind of gobsmacked that even happened, right? So really the form for artificial intelligence is being able to really consume lots and lots of data really, really quickly, but then also being able to, I guess, bring in some form of predictive analytics too. So being able to determine whether or not something's fraudulent.
And I learned this from building these models from scratch, is also making sure that you are, yes, audit ready, but that you know that you're ready to say, okay, we took this decision because of X, Y, Z. Of course, there's definitely a regulatory requirement there. But then I think we were discussing before the session, for example, if I'm an industry granting credit and it's me and my husband living in the same household, my husband is granted credit and I'm not, when we are on the same salary, so to say, is the algorithm biased? So making sure that you are ready for these kind of questions to make sure that algorithm is not biased and understand high level why it took that decision, it's definitely key.
I think this is where white box solutions, and just tying back to that, have kind of been ideal. It gives you a little bit more insight to understand kind of where your false positives are. Now, you know, I think the way that if I look back to early on in my career, false positives were definitely a massive concern. You know, there were high false positive rates, but then also it was sometimes a little bit difficult to quantify how many false positives you had, because you were working with kind of very kind of supervised models, black box solutions. You didn't necessarily know, you know, what data was coming through. So if I was in an e-commerce solution, then, you know, maybe I'd have to rely on my customer service team to try and give me that information.
Developing a good machine learning model is not a one-time activity. So you have to continuously maintain your model.
But sometimes having a calibrated model does not catch all the fraud you want to catch. So I think definitely knowing where do I set my threshold that a transaction is fraudulent and not fraudulent? How many false positives can I afford? What are my margins? Am I in trouble with the schemes? And are they going to close my business because I'm close to fraud?
You know, are fraud teams going to become obsolete? It doesn't sound so, because as Steph just said, you know, the final say should always be on the human side. And from my personal experience, it doesn't seem like machine learning is going to take over the process.
And this is a race with the fraudsters as well, because as Steph mentioned, that they use newer technologies as well, not just stolen credit card, but they have machine farms to commit frauds.